Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrate to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one of getting all the insight. Now obviously we are approaching the Christmas for 2022. Hopefully everybody, all the fans and viewers had enjoyed a wild ride of 2022. We experienced a change of government from previous Liberal national government that had been being in place for about 9-10 years, and then we switched over to a Labour Albanese government, and a lot of changes had came along since we have just experienced COVID-19 pandemic. Now by the end of this year and Christmas, there are some news coming up, and obviously these are all institutional recommendations, and we know there has been a lot of information and recommendation has been thrown in to the government of Australia, where the Home Affairs department, also a lot of ministers are looking to perhaps do changes or major changes, should I say, by February. That's exciting. Let's have a look how these institutions actually recommend Australia's upcoming visa system to be, and be prepared. This is the opportunity for you. Okay, let's have a look at this news coming from The Guardian. This, if you have searched it, it's actually came out. This news actually came out on the 14th of December, Wednesday, and that's last Wednesday. Unfortunately, I haven't had the time to actually update this, but there has been a lot of others information follow this reports. Let's have a look first, and then we go to a more recent news that we received yesterday. Okay, so the topic says Australian skill migration program needs an overhaul. Now, we have heard of this topic since 2019, 2020, 21, and today is 2022. Didn't the last government of Australia said they need an overhaul of migration system as well? Have they done anything? I don't know, but since we have the new Albanese Labour government, yes, they did a lot of things. They went through a job and skills summit, increased the quota, and a lot of changes. And recently there has been a lot of 189 visa, which hasn't really been utilized for the past 2 or 3 years, throwing into the public, either onshore and offshore. A lot of people actually get invited, but the state and territory government has actually been pretty silent in a way. I think because all these numbers has been actually controlled by the federal government. So anyway, let's have a look what the recommendation or the report actually says. So Grattan Institute, if you've been following my channel long enough, Grattan Institute always puts some recommendation. It's a very key institution of Australia to actually put recommendation for the economy to actually grow and develop. It says the government should target permanent visa, skill visa at younger and higher skill migrant. Look, which country should not target on a younger and more highly talented or skilled visa people? Well, I don't know. I think every country wants that anyway. So I think this is just, again, it's some sort of a way that the government want to communicate with the population, perhaps. I don't know. Okay, anyway, let's have read on. A better skill migration program could be a solution to Australia's major economy challenges. Well, that's not a secret anymore. Everyone knows that, and every country in the world needs that too. After the COVID-19 pandemic, a lack of productivity growth, growing debt of federal budget and economy, transition to net zero. Yes, a lot of countries is actually going through that as well. In the past decades, only a quarter of permanent resident visa were issued to migrants based on their skill, and the rest of them granted the family humanitarian, but that's a long time ago. So what they're trying to do is are they recommending for the family visa to actually have less quota or stay in some sort of numbers But look, the population growth, I think there's a definitely way and requirement to get more quota in the future. We'll see you in the next news anyway. The submission said that to reflect the diverse objective of the Australian migration program should target permanent visa. This will allow them to stay longer, contribute to the economy. Well, that's not magic. That's not a secret anyway. A second recommendation was a change of policy to ensure that permanent employer sponsorship was available for workers earning more than $85,000 a year in any industry. Now, that I'm not too sure. I think that will a little bit be too easy, should I say that? And also wouldn't that duplicate what the GTI Global Talent Dependent Visa is actually doing? But GTI actually requires a higher than this, but those people could potentially be more contributory to the economy than people earning 85,000, because the GTI is earning 162,000. That's the basic requirement there. But don't know. I think for this second recommendation, 85,000, it's a little bit too easy. And it says any industry. Wow. I mean, would this actually work? Because in previous scheme, should I say, it does produce a lot of visa application, but it also produces a lot of problem too. Anyway, the institute said that there will be a better targeted migrants with a valuable skill, simplified sponsorship process, offer a clear pathway to permanent residency, boost Australian government budget. That's not magic as well. That's not a secret too. Again, I have in my channel, I have always recommend and also looking forward for the change of the employment sponsored visa. The current system is just too complicated, too complex, too many stuff required to be done, and that costs for all the wait time and delay and backlog. So and that has been pointed out, I think early last year, saying there should be a change there, but we just haven't seen anything being done yet. So anyway, and they repeat about what Job Skills Summit had actually produced with 195,000 places for Australia, and I think next year there will be a lot more beyond that. Now, next news is just came out yesterday. I think this also connects back last week. So the first news that we just went through was last week. So this one came out yesterday. Call for migration system refresh as Australian grapple with skill crisis. As you can see, Australia's border has opened for a while already, but the skill shortage is still there. Need to get that done. Now, there has been another group of university lobbying in regards to allow international students to get into a permanent residency, and it seems to be the same here. So let's have a read. Okay, Australia is failing the talent workforce already in the country, according to two analysis of country's immigration system. Increasing overseas migration will bring billions more economic growth. You remember back in 2018 where the former Prime Minister Scott Morrison was on the election. They were talking about migrants is actually getting our cities and Sydney and Melbourne to congestion, and now they're talking all the different stuff they're talking about. We need migrants because migrants bring in billions of dollars to the economy. That's what we need now, isn't it? So KPMG found a lifting on the net overseas migration by a total of 265,000. Now, I'm not too sure if they would shift from 195 straight away to 265 next year. If they do, that's great. I will say around just over 200, as with my experience when dealing with Department of Immigration for the past almost 20 years. Anyway, well, that's what KPMG say. Hopefully they will listen, but they won't go that bold to 265 for sure. But anyway, over the next 5 years, it will boost Australia's economy up to 35 billion. Here we go. Okay, and that comes from perhaps international student, people coming to Australia, work, paying taxes and things. In the submission that the government immigration review, the firm also recommend creating better pathway to permanent residency for foreign students. That is great, and that's exactly what this channel is all about. We have been talking about for the golden age is due to come for a lot of international students. Now, remember back in those days, perhaps 10, 15, 20 years ago, as long as you come to Australia and study, it will be pretty easy and firm that you can get permanent residency. So this will be a very good recommendations. And perhaps currently the current system could actually implement in the way, basically just go on that one. As long as the quota is enough, it will allow a lot of international students to actually stay. KPMG senior economist Dr. Sarah Hunter said that the firm modeling was consistent with all the other studies, showing that immigration does not dampen local employment or wage for the long run. Well, we knew that because we have been in Australia long enough to learn all that. I mean, for the past 20, 30 years, haven't we stopped migration system and the economy is still growing, right? And the way how the former governments actually did, they restrict and decrease the migration quota. What happened? Well, obviously there was pandemic, but it actually caused a lot of issues too, isn't it? Okay, so refresh your skill focused migration program will provide a similar boost in the economy and lift real per head income. Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill announced an immigration review in September. A final report is due to be handed down in February. So I will say there will be definitely changes. Well, this is my prediction. There will be definitely changes for employment sponsor visa categories, and there will be a slight increase over the next 5 years for the net quota on the migration annual intake. And see what happens. I think once we hit that point, now a lot of people ask why February. Obviously, it's important because they need to hand down the report by February so they can implement it for the upcoming financial year, and also that's also a date that the current government, the Labour government, is looking forward to clear out all the backlog. Because the current problem is that there's so much backlog and there's so many people, so many talent want to coming in. So once they can clear the backlog, they can actually resume the visa system back to its norm. A norm is back in 4 or 5 years ago, before the former government acts actually introduced the decrease of the migration quota. That caused all the issues. Okay. Now, our system, our immigration system isn't fit in purpose. It's complex, it's bureaucratic, a lack of strategy, it's expensive, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's all good. That means there's going to come up with a lot of changes. Several submissions are being received by the government and review. KPMG head of Migration Services, Mark Bright, said that the country was currently underutilization of foreign students. That means they wanted to allow the international student to know more about how they can contribute to the economy and they can actually stay permanently by ways. And I believe the current system is actually doing that by throwing a lot of 189 invites, and we see the changes of Victorian government and also New South Wales government dropping their state criteria on 190 down to the very basic. So that's all a good sign. In a joint submission, the Pig Buddy, representing more than 300,000 finance and accounting professionals, CPA Australian Chartered Accountant, NZ, said that the international student could make a potential large contribution to the country. So, all right, that's good. And that also aligned with all the university is looking for, because university has been, thirsty on its international students. They want to make money. Okay, by definition, high skill is likely to work in Australia, better understand Australian regulatory environment. Australia faces pressing skill shortage, and we all know this about now. The key things, and there's a lot of quote. I'm not going to go through them now. what I wanted to say here in this video is that there's a lot of good sign coming up just before Christmas, showing the commitment of the government and also a lot of lobbying bodies. These are key lobbying body institutions directing the way that Australia is going to be a more migrant-friendly country, and as I had coined it back in early this year, that the golden age of migration for Australia has returned. So should you really grapple that opportunity, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and you should have any other questions or query, more than welcome to leave comment right down below. And I see you next video. Merry Christmas. Goodbye.